There is like so much to catch up on. I'll be honest. I will come clean on everything that I said in my last video, which was now about a week and a half ago. I said that after the championship, because my last video was the day that OKC won the chip, which was nearly 2 weeks ago now, which is insane. But I said I was going to make a couple of videos throughout those next couple of days talking about a couple of different things, like how good OKC was and all of those sorts of things. But then my schedule got busy for a couple of days. I'll be completely honest. I didn't have a lot of time to even sit down, let alone think about making a video, because making these sorts of videos is like, it takes energy and it takes motivation. So if I don't have the motivation to get a video out, I'm not going to do it, because then it makes a bad product and so on and so forth. So I didn't have the time to do it over the next couple of days. And then for the next 5 days or so, I had every broadcaster and presenter their worst nightmare. I woke up and had completely not had a voice. I couldn't talk. Like, I could have probably sat in front of this computer and tried to make a video, but if I don't have a voice, what am I projecting into this microphone right now? I can't. Like, it doesn't make any logical sense. So, all jokes aside, I'm here now, I'm back. Free agency has had a ridiculous amount of stuff to catch up on. I'm probably just today going to touch up on a couple of the bigger signings and trades and that sort of thing, because to be completely honest, it feels like I've been looking on my phone in the last 48 hours and the entire league is going to have a new team next season. So the thing's completely all over the place. I'm going to have to take some time to like completely break it down. I'm probably going to try and go like team by team throughout this offseason and talk about new acquisitions and re-signings and all of that sort of stuff that every team has sort of done. I will try and get to every team unless, there is a team like, for example, who have we had? The Utah Jazz, who realistically, other than getting their 2 rookies, including Ace Bailey, which got a lot of things to talk about with Ace Bailey and the whole situation that went down with the draft and that sort of stuff, which I will get to eventually at a later date, most likely, because today we'll just be talking about free agency and what's sort of going on. Utah really hasn't done much. So if that team hasn't done anything by the end of free agency, which free agency's got another week and a half left. So a lot of things can happen in that sort of time, but I will try and get to every single team as much as I humanly can. Kicking off with the biggest sort of trades, Kevin Durant is a Houston Rocket, Dorian Finney-Smith is a Houston Rocket, and Clint Capella is a Houston Rocket. Fred VanVleet also re-signed. Steven Adams re-signed. They had a bunch of different players re-signed. Jabari Smith signed a big contract. Shout out Jabari Smith, a ridiculous contract. To be honest, I didn't think the Houston Rockets were going to give them that sort of contract, if I'm being honest. But they did. He deserves it. Tall shooter. It's literally everything that team is going to need off the bench. It's like 30% of Kevin Durant coming off the bench in terms of Jabari Smith Jr., so it's a great re-sign for them. They are building a squad in every sense of the term. Like, they signed their superstar player that is going to completely change all of their offensive worries that they had in this last season for signing probably one of the best offensive scorers the game's ever seen. It costed them Dylan Brooks, Dylan Brooks was one of their better defenders, but we saw sort of in that Warriors series, there was stretches in the game where Ime Udoka didn't feel it necessary or feel like he wanted Dylan Brooks in the game, because his offense at times is really lackluster and it really narrows him down to only being majorly effective on one side of the ball, which in the grand scheme of things, a team trying to win a championship, you saw it in the OKC Thunder. every single one of those guys on that team, if they were a defender, they could also give you something on the offensive side of the ball. People like Alex Caruso, people like Cason Wallace, people like Aaron Wiggins, all of those guys were able to do it on both sides of the basketball. And that's why it made OKC as good as they were. So the dismissal of Dylan Brooks isn't really a massive surprise to me. Jalen Green as well. We saw Jalen Green in the Warriors series. He wasn't quite ready for the moment. He got given 7 games at historically one of the best teams in the world, and only gave 1 good game in the second game at home in Houston. That game was an absolute blowout to the best of my knowledge. I'm pretty sure the Warriors ended up losing by like 20 plus points. That was the only game that Jalen Green actually gave them something productive on both sides of the basketball. Other than that, he was their best offensive option, and he gave them, I think it was about 8 points a night average for the rest of the series. So to be able to move on from Jalen Green as well, in a couple of years' time, I have no doubt that Jalen Green is going to be an absolutely electric basketball player, and he is going to put the league on notice at some point in time. But for right now, Houston's going for it. You've got older guys like your Fred VanVleets and your Steven Adams and your Clint Capellas and your Kevin Durant, but you've also got a couple of young guys that are ready to go right now and are ready to score right now. So early doors, I think Houston is going to be a serious contender next season, provided nothing else really happens with them at the moment and that sort of thing. They are looking really, really good. Another notable trade to sort of go on about is that Damian Lillard got waived. I don't think there's ever been a time in my history of watching basketball where a superstar caliber player has just been waived. To the best of my knowledge, they're putting him on sort of like a Thon Maker kind of deal where they're still going to pay Damian Lillard for the rest of his contract, but they're sort of stretching it out over however many years, just to get rid of him and bring Miles Turner in at the center spot. The Milwaukee Bucks are going to look really different next year. Brook Lopez is gone. Chris Middleton's gone. Damian Lillard's gone. All of their big role players from that championship run, Drew Holiday included, are all gone. They have no real championship pedigree in that team anymore outside of a certain person named Giannis, but he speaks for himself, so you don't really need to speak on Giannis at this point in time. They bring Miles Turner in, which, if they were keeping Damian Lillard, I would have said would have been a really good deal. But the fact that they got Miles Turner on the account that they had to get rid of their superstar point guard for free doesn't really make a ton of sense to me. They've currently got Kevin Porter Jr. as their starting one guard. Unless they do something else in free agency, sign another mid-level point guard, something along those sort of stretch, the Milwaukee Bucks are going to look really weird. On the other side of things, the Pacers losing Miles Turner is really quite sad, to be completely honest. He has been in trade talks and free agency talks and every single little move team talk in the league in the last 10 years of his life. He has always ended up staying at the Indiana Pacers, one way or another. And the one time that they make a finals run, get to a Game 7 against the best team in basketball, and then he gets shipped out a week later. Because according to all the reports, I don't know how real it is and how everything else to do with that. I'm just touching on all the Shams reports and everything that's been said. It was literally because the Indiana Pacers didn't want to go into that second envelope and start paying the luxury tax. For someone like Miles Turner, who has been so good for your franchise for so many years, for you to constantly lowball him and not give him anything near what he wanted, and to let him walk and go to your literally arch rival, makes no sense in my head. The Indiana Pacers are already going to look so different next year, with Tyrese probably being out pretty much the whole season. They've also gotten rid of Miles Turner for free. And he was, a top 3 or 4 option on that team. So I don't know where Indiana goes now. I sort of said throughout this playoff series that I didn't think Indiana was necessarily going to make a finals run like they were going to ever again. And I definitely think that now. Because I don't know what their team looks like next season. Currently, the projected lineup is like Isaiah Jackson at the 5, and you've got TJ McConnell starting at the shooting guard position. Which, TJ McConnell, the run that he had, I'm not going to say anything bad, but TJ McConnell, I think, is one of those guys that is so much better when he comes off the bench. They're realistically, that's what I think for the Pacers. The Pacers, I don't know what's going on with them, whether they're going for another draft pick or something. I don't even know if they have their rights to their draft pick. For all I know, they gave it up for Pascal Siakam. So, not really too sure what's sort of going on there, but there's just, a couple of things to really think about. The last sort of trade that I wanted to touch on is Michael Porter Jr. got swapped for Cam Johnson, who, realistically, they're 2 shooters. Cameron Johnson can give you a little bit more in terms of playmaking, going to the ring. So in order to get that, they had to give up that 2032 first-round pick. But as a great man, Kenny Beecham, once said, if you've got the best player on the world currently on your team, giving up a first-round pick 10 years in the future shouldn't mean anything. Because you want to win it right now. While you've got this once-in-a-lifetime player on your team, you want to win basketball games right now. So it's a good trade for Denver, bringing on Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson, we know how good he is. He's just been sort of stuck at Brooklyn for the last 18 months, so there hasn't, you couldn't really say much about him while he's stuck at Brooklyn. We will see how good Cameron Johnson is. He gave good spurts in the playoffs a few years ago when he was on that Suns team, when they made that finals run. So we will see if he can sort of replicate that, sort of branch again. Only time will tell. Unfortunately for Michael Porter Jr., he has to go to Brooklyn. There's a lot of scorers on that team. I just don't know what to say in terms of what they're going to do on the defensive side of the ball. Because you got Cam Johnson, Cam Thomas, who can score 40 on 20 shots at the basketball ring, but can't stay in front of a parked school bus. Michael Porter Jr., all but the same. They've just got a lot of offensive scorers. It doesn't sort of mold. I don't know whether Brooklyn's just gathering a bunch of young pieces and they're going to make a big deal. But ever since that, big 3 in Brooklyn, it's sort of just all over the place for them. I don't know what's next for them, but we will soon see. I don't expect their moves to be done now. I think they're going to make a couple of different moves for the rest of free agency, but only time will tell. This video has gone on for way too long. It's basically just been a ramble sesh just to say that I'm back. Couple of big free agency things. Just to sort of touch on some stuff. I apologize, my lighting's really bad. I don't own a light. I'm currently just using natural lighting. So as soon as the sun goes away, my lighting goes away, which is not the most ideal thing in the world, especially being in an Australian winter. So we make do with it. This video is still going to come out as it will. I will organise lighting and stuff very soon. I'm still here. I haven't left you guys for the off season. I'm still going to be around. Next video will be out very, very soon. I will talk to you guys. Yeah, I will talk to you guys then. Liking and subscribing, if you could do that, would be amazing. If you've made it this far in the video, support's been amazing. So I'm going to continue getting this stuff out, and I will talk to you guys when I'm back. Thank you, guys.